Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Sachin Singh, and today I'm going to take you over one of the games that I played at the Mississippi Chess Festival that happened on the 15th and the 16th of November in Clinton, Mississippi. I played in the under 1900 section. I started with 1686. That was my USCF chess rating, and I think I ended at 1718 after the tournament was rated. So it went pretty well. I got 3 points out of 5. This is the first game, and let me quickly take you through it. So I was black, he was white, and this was this was the first round. He's a player rated around 1600 something, so low 1600s. So still very comparable. I was 1686, only maybe like 30-40 point difference. Not a lot. He started with king's pawn e4, c6 the caro, d5, knight c3, takes, knight d7. So the first major surprise, or whatever you want to say, that I want to get out of opening books with younger kids these days, because they know a lot more about opening theory than I would be willing to memorize. So I would like to change sometimes the move order, or just get out of the opening book as fast as possible. But he plays like the standard Caro-Kann moves: knight gf6, knight g3, e6, bishop b3, and here I think bishop e7, castles, and here I played c5. So again, nothing very interesting, and you can get this from a different move order. So I can play castles, and then let's say bishop something, and then c5, and then c3, and then you take. But here c5, c3, and I took, because my point is that, let's say you take back with the pawn. Yes, you can now basically put this knight on e5, but really you are putting this knight on an outpost somewhat, because there's still the f pawn. But this pawn is an isolated queen's pawn, and I can spend a lot of time just attacking this throughout. Anyway, so he played knight takes d4. So I know for a fact now that this knight is not going to land on e5 and not going to be a problem. And so I castled, rook e1, a6. So I also don't want this knight to have a future on b5 and pressure my dark squares, especially with this bishop coming to f4 at some point. But bishop g5, which came as a surprise to me again, because I was thinking bishop f4 is really strong, and then he can try with something else. So I played h6, making sure he gets pushed back a little, but he went bishop d2 again. So again, he cannot play bishop f4, I think. Yes, because there's this e5, which I see now. I didn't see that, I think. Yeah, but anyway, so I played queen c7, again trying to not let this bishop come back at any point in time to this f4 square, and also preparing b5, bishop b7. So that was one of my ideas. And after queen c1, and I was like, come on, this guy is 1600 again. Not belittling him, not saying that, but his 1600 is the first round. This is one of the first rounds of the tournament, absolutely the first round. And there's no way he's going to sack on h6 for something that the tournament decider is probably 24 hours away or something. There's 4 more games after this. He can be happy with just a regular chess game. There was no way he's going to sack on h6, and especially when it's not very clear. So if you look at this, let's say black wastes a move, something like this. It's not very clear if you're actually going to get something out of this right away. So let's say if I move this, yes, you might have some ideas, but how many is the question, and is it really going to work? No one knows. And that's why I was not very sure. And the other thing that I felt was that after queen c7, queen c1, he didn't spend a lot of time on queen c1. And since I already had moved out of the opening book, this cannot be a prepared idea. So I played rook e8 almost without any hesitation, as it was pretty natural for me to just be ready in anticipation, just in case he takes, and then have that square from a bishop or my king to run away. So I played rook e8, and then he took on h6. So he sat there for a couple of minutes, took on h6. I spent actually around 12 to 15 minutes, maybe more, trying to figure out what's the response, because I saw g takes h6, queen takes h6, and then I looked at bishop f8, but I was scared about the knights jumping on f5, the rook sacking itself on e6. Well, I don't think I completely looked at rook takes on e6, But I definitely saw knights jumping on h5 and f5, and I was not very comfortable with bishop f8. So I found this queen c5. The idea is that I don't want his queen to have these two squares to keep checking me and have even a chance of perpetual. This is already taken by the knight. This is already taken by the knight. He cannot reach here, and this pawn stops here. So his queen doesn't really have a lot of squares to check the king, and if he has to make something out of this, he has to be really, really precise, and he has to do it now because my bishop is like arriving on f8 really soon, and then my dark squares are covered, my light squares are already covered, and then he has problems. And then he found this very interesting rook takes e6, which I didn't see coming. So I think I probably said I saw rook takes e6 ideas. I didn't until he played this. So rook takes e6 was very out of the blue for me. Although I should have known this since I have lost a game to this similar idea. I think almost a year and a half, 2 years ago. Uh, anyway, so I sat there, and now suddenly it dawned to me that I cannot take back because f takes e6, knight takes e6, and he forks. So let's play this on the board just in case. He forks this mating square and my queen, and there's no way for my queen to defend that. And if I try to attack him, I think he can still give me a check and take. So I have problems. But when I sat here for around 2 to 3 minutes, I realized that I could still take because of this very tricky queen takes f2, which lands me a fork of my own. So after king takes f2, which he didn't play, I get knight g4 and I attack this, and I'm simply a rook up. I also have an extra piece for 3 pawns, but those 3 pawns are probably preferable. But at this point, I have an extra rook, and which is just game deciding. So after queen f2, king h1, and I was able to play bishop f8, and my king is safe. But going back a little, rook takes e6 was the absolute best move, but after f takes e6, what he had to find was queen g6. The idea for this was that now, after king h8, knight takes e6, and you no longer have queen takes f2, because after king takes f2, even if you are able to give me a check, I can just hide behind, and there's no problems happening around this whole system. And then there's this checkmate coming soon, and it's game. So he missed this little queen g6 check in the middle, the Zushinzuk. But anyway, let's go back to the game. So after queen takes f2, he played king h1, and I was able to play bishop f8, and I'm completely safe. But now queen g6 doesn't really cause me any pain because I can just play king h8, and I have covered most of the squares that are required for me to cover my bases. And after knight f8, queen h6, knight 8 h7, he played rook f1, attacking my queen and also trying to double attack the knight on f6. But after rook e1, pinning the rook, takes, I am clearly better. And here I played bishop e6, threatening rook g8 and queen g2 mate. So he played queen g3, offering me an exchange. Queen takes b2, picking up a pawn, isolating those 2 pawns. Bishop takes h7, king takes h7, and not knight takes, because you have this tricky check coming in. Anyway, but king h7, queen check, and king h8, and there's no checks. And here, I think, after queen f2, I'm threatening mate, and it's very difficult for him to defend anything. After knight g3, rook d8, and I think here the Indian found a better bishop d5. And he's like, how are you going to defend against all these threats? One of these is this, one of the threats is here, one of the threats is here. So if either these or these move, one of these threats will be executed, and it's very difficult for white to defend. But I just played rook d8, and after queen e2, I exchanged, and I have this check. I'm threatening smothered mate, so he has to play h3, and I pick up a pawn. And after he moves his king to h2, I take on g1, king takes g1, and then I take on a2 with my bishop, and I have 2 pawns, and a bishop and a knight. So my king is still holding both the pawns, and the other pawns, these pawns actually support each other throughout. And the reason is that you can never take the pawn that's backward, because this pawn runs to queen, and there's an extra knight which can just gobble up all these pawns. The bishop can also go ahead and take these pawns. It can act as a blockade. These pawns protected themselves. This king is really at the most ideal place it should be, and I was able to convert it from here. That was my game one. Uh, the next one probably would be round two, that I will try to show you how it went. Thank you, and have a nice day. Bye.